This is Paint Life TV. I'm Chris, the Idaho painter. In this video, I'm going to be talking about upcycled paint. What the heck is upcycled paint? So I've had the opportunity now to paint a couple projects with some upcycled paint called Montage signature paints. I'm going to be talking about upcycled paint, what the benefits are of it, what the cost of it is. Is it something that you should use as a professional painter or do-it-yourselfer? So if you want to know what the heck upcycled paint is, stay tuned for this video. So what exactly is Montage Signature Paint? Montage Signature Paint is an eco-friendly upcycled paint that's affordable, cost-effective. It's a post-consumer latex product designed for professional painters and homeowners and do-it-yourselfers. All right, I'm going to be talking about upcycled paint now, and the product specifically that I'm going to be talking about is a Montage paint. And this is a Montage signature paint, and I actually purchased this paint off of Amazon, and Amazon is one of the places you can purchase it. You can also purchase it from walmart.com, and I think there's a bunch of retail stores located in California and some other places where you can get it. Now, upcycled paint is a little bit different than recycled paint, or actually kind of a lot different. Upcycled paint is a post-consumer product, so it's paint that was used or not used in certain circumstances. It's been taken to a recycled center, and now that product is been boxed, mixed together, and tested, and eventually turned into a post-consumer product that is in better condition than the original condition that it was in. Now, we'll talk about what that actually is, and is it really a better product from my testing and using it? Is it better than the original paint that it was actually manufactured to be? That's going to be discussed here in this video. But before we discuss that, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button or somewhere around there. If you don't hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, you won't get notified every time I come out with a new video. Subscribing and not notifying does nothing. Kind of weird. Why don't they just make it one button? I don't know, but click them both if you want to support our channel, Paint Life TV. It's just a simple way to help support us. You're not going to be marketed to. It's never cost you anything, and it never will. Now, let's get on to some of the details, about upcycled paint and what is this recycling all about and upcycling. So here's a few interesting facts, and so I'm going to be talking about the United States in general, and not worldwide, but the U.S. because I've gathered some statistics, when it comes to the U.S. and specifically also California, because California has some very stringent environmental regulations and what you can do and what you cannot do with paint. So paint, what's amazing is 10% of the paint manufactured in the United States goes unused. So 10% of that paint that's manufactured that goes into the store, people buy it, eventually going to start using it on projects. They don't use it all. It gets stored in the garage. It gets stored other places. It sits around and just goes unused. And how many gallons is that anyways? Does it even really matter? Well, 10% of unused paint in the United States actually comes out to about 80 million gallons a year that goes unused here in the United States. And so where's that eventually going to go? Eventually that's going to find its way to our landfills, our waste disposal sites. And in California, latex paints and oil-based paints are actually designated as hazardous waste. And 80 million gallons is just basically hazardous waste that we don't want to just be filling or dumping in our landfills because they're already overfull and overfilling. And why just add paint and hazardous waste to it when we can actually do something with that paint? Okay, so what do we do with that 80 million gallons of paint? We don't want to be sending it to the landfill because we can actually do something with it. I think it's a federal government program. It's called Paint Care or Painter's Care. We'll leave a little bit of details in the description below about it, and maybe right here some text. But Paint Care is a program now where you can actually go and drop off your, not drop off your unused paint. So professional painters can, homeowners can, do-it-yourselfers can. You can drop it off at these drop-off sites. I believe in California, the majority of the population, I think 80% of the population in California lives within 15 miles of a paint care facility where you can drop off paint. Now you can drop off as much as paint as you want. If you have 250 gallons of paint and you don't have a way to drop it off, you can organize with paint care to actually come pick up that paint. Now they take that paint from you. It doesn't cost you anything because in some states it's actually built into the gallon of paint. In California specifically, when you buy a gallon of paint, you're actually paying a part of the fee is actually built into the paint to dispose of your paint through that program called Paint Care. And so those drop-off sites, you can drop it off for free because it is hazardous waste. It is illegal in California, in other states across the US, to actually dispose of wet paint, liquid paint in the landfill. So you don't want to dump it off. There are ways that you can solidify it, but make sure you find out your own local regulations locally. So that's citywide, countywide, and statewide, how you can dispose of paint. But the better option is to take it to these recycled centers where they will recycle the paint, and they actually recycle it, turn it into a product that you can paint with. They also turn it into fuels, or they turn it into coverage products that they cover the landfills with. What Montage Signature Paint does, they're a company called Paint for Less. You can drop it off at their multiple disposal sites and drop-off sites, and they're going to take that paint and they're going to turn that paint into a better paint than it was from its original state. Now let's talk about what that actually means now. All right, so I had a conversation with some of the people at Montage Paint because I've used their paints, and actually, just to give you a little hint, I actually really like the product. I really like the concept of recycling paint, not sending it to landfill. I think this is good for our environment. I think it's eco-friendly, and we all should be good stewards of our planet. Not only, here in my location, but not only the United States wide, but also worldwide. I mean, we should be practicing, good eco-friendly practices and recycling worldwide. So this pertains to all of us out there, and our YouTube channel is worldwide. So this is for everybody. We should really pay attention to this. So now the paint goes into Paint Care. You dump it off at a recycle site. And I'm speaking of Montage, not all recycled paint, because everybody has their own processes. But I learned how these guys do it, and it's not recycled. Theirs is upcycled paint, and this is the value to it. They take that paint, they separate it from colors, because they're going to turn it into colors that are actually really cool colors. They have a really cool color palette that you can choose from. Separate the colors, they separate the qualities of the paint, and then the different types of paint. So oil-based paints, lacquers, varnishes, they take just about everything, a big laundry list of stuff, floor coatings, stains, all that stuff. But they're going to separate all the latex paints, separate it into colors, and separate it into quality, because they're turning this into a better quality paint. So now they're going to take those batches and stuff, and once it's all separated, they're going to begin mixing it together in what we call boxing it, and they're going to strain it with a very fine mesh strainer, so we end up with clean paint in the end. Once that paint is strained, they're going to begin doing a process and testing the paint. They're going to be doing drawdowns of the paints, and they do this in batches, and I believe their batches are around 275 gallons per batch, and they do I think 8 batches at a time in these tanks where they mix it. And once they do these batches, they're going to be mixing it together, straining it, doing drawdowns on it, doing testing, and one of the tests is like a pH test, but they're going to be testing it. They'll do a drawdown on it, look at the transparency of the paint, and they actually, Montage Paints carries all the products to actually manufacture paint, the raw materials to manufacture it from the ground up. So they don't even need paint coming into their center to actually make paint. They keep all the raw materials there in their building. So now they're going to be looking at the paint, taking some tests like some pH tests, determining, is there mildew? Is there anything in this paint, or is there anything that needs to be added to this paint to make it a better quality paint? If it's transparent, they're going to be adding some residues or some resins, maybe some titanium dioxide, some products that will make this paint not so transparent. They do kill mildew and mold and mildew that is in the paint, because they do, anytime paint's coming in, if they do sense any type of mold or mildew, they separate that stuff. It's not mixed into their paint. But there is going to be some products like that, or some mold or mildew that slip into the paint, but they do kill it, and they do add a mold and mildewcide to the paint. I know I've tested some recycled paints in the past that had horrible smells of mold and mildew, and I would have never used them anymore. What's amazing about this product is I've used it multiple times, and it has a very pleasant smell. I've never smelled a hint of mold or mildew in it. It's part of their process of going through all this testing and measures of making their product an upcycled product and a better product. During my discussion with Montage, they did tell me that they about 1 to 3% of the materials that are in the paint is virgin materials. So they're actually adding virgin materials into this paint to up the quality of the paint. And that's going to be, like I say, if the paint itself tests out on a drawdown and it has the transparency that they're not liking, it doesn't meet their standards and quality, they're going to put products in there to make it a better quality. So they're gonna be adding products that's gonna kill mold and mildew also. And that's, to me, that's really important when it comes to upcycled paint. So once again, their testing process is very extensive, and they do test every single batch of paint that comes in or actually goes out. So I know that they Montage Signature Paint is sold on Amazon.com, and Amazon has very stringent regulations when it comes to the quality of paint that's sold there. So it has to meet certain standards of quality to even be sold on Amazon. Now let's talk about, that quality. Is it something that I would use? Is it something that I would recommend? Now, I'm, once again, a big fan of recycling and upcycling paint. Now, and if there's paint out there that you can take and batch together, mix up and upcycle it, I'm going to be a big fan of it, but it actually has to perform well. If it doesn't perform well, it's a great concept, but it's not something I'm going to use. Now, I've had the opportunity to paint an entire garage with it. So I sprayed it, I brushed it, I rolled it. I did an accent wall and a gym, Boise CrossFit. So I had the opportunity to run it through an interfeed roller, ran it through a sprayer, brushed it and rolled it in that environment also. And that was on a block wall, so cement block wall, some drywall ceiling, and in the garage it was on drywall. So now I had the not a long opportunity, but 2 full day opportunities to use it in different methods, different environments, and I'll just tell you a little bit about my experience from using it. So I started off to end up doing the job. I went to Walmart.com. I bought 7 gallons of a white color to paint this garage, and this was a bare garage. It was bare drywall and didn't have anything on it, and I was gonna be painting it white and predominantly spraying it on at Boise CrossFit. The customer, it's interesting, they have a palette. So there are pre-mixed colors. You cannot mix the colors because they basically create their colors by boxing paint colors together, creating their colors. And what's interesting is they're extremely consistent from batch to batch, the same color. The customer chose a gray color. You can see here's the gray color, right there. That's the color they chose to do this CrossFit facility. So I had the opportunity to use light colors and dark gray colors. And the color was, both colors were really nice looking colors. And it came in the same sheen. The sheen was, I think it's a You see, it's a low sheen, which I would say it's like in between maybe like an eggshell satin sheen. So my experience spraying in the garage with the white color, I was absolutely amazed how well the paint covered. So the color itself covered very well. It was just going on bare drywall, but it is a self-priming product. So it's an interior, exterior coating for residential, commercial, house and trim paint, and it is a self-priming product. So I use it on bare drywall. And typically, you would want to use a PVA primer when doing bare drywall, but this was just a garage. So where you park your cars. So we typically, anytime we paint garages, we never use a PVA primer. We just put paint right over the top of the bare drywall, and it works fine in that environment. The paint covered amazing. It sprayed very well. Eventually, when it dried out, it didn't have any lap marks, didn't have flashing, and I would say all in all, it was a great product to spray. Another quality that I was looking at and trying to determine is, does this paint hang well? Can you spray tons of it on in different environments? And when I'm talking about hanging, does it not run? So can you get lots of paint on, cover well, so you get really good mill thickness, and is it going to run if you're trying to do that? As a professional painter, we want to get a lot of paint on, get good mill thickness. We want it to cover well, but we want it to hang well. And I got to say, it was absolutely incredible. In the garage, I don't think I had any runs anywhere, spraying on the ceiling, didn't get no drips, no runs on the walls, and I brushed it and rolled it and didn't get any runs at all, and I was throwing it on pretty dang heavy and pretty dang thick. It's going on bare drywall, so it was very porous, so that's going to absorb a lot of the liquid moisture out of the paint fast. So that is kind of an ideal environment for getting paint to hang well. I gotta say, it hung well, covered well, and it also dried extremely fast. So now, what is the dry time? The dry time, it says on the can or the bucket, it says 30 to 60 minutes dry time, and it did dry extremely fast. So I was able to get multiple coats on in a short period of time. When I was doing the garage, it was very cool, moist and humid, and so that definitely slows down dry time, but the dry time was still extremely fast, so I was impressed with that also. So now I'm going to talk about the gray paint that I used, and this was over at Boise CrossFit. So now, being a gray color, you're thinking it's going to be a little bit thinner. It's probably not going to hang as well. It's maybe not going to cover as well. So we're definitely going to be testing out, those different scenarios. I did run it through an interfeed roller, so I rolled it. I also sprayed it using different tip sizes, 310s, and I also used a 515 and also some HEA tips. And then I also brushed and rolled it in this environment also. And like the white paint, it covered absolutely amazing. So the coverage is incredible. It covers very well, hung very well. I don't think I had any runs anywhere. Rolling it through an interfeed roller, absolutely loading it on, because I was trying to fill in, pinholes and holes in the block and trying to get a smoother finish. So I loaded it on. I sprayed it pretty heavy on the ceilings and in the wall, around the walls. I was spraying around piping and stuff like that to work around piping. So I did different methods, and it covered really well. One thing when it comes to upcycled paint, and I'll specifically say, not this paint, but recycled paint I've used in the past, had a very strong odor and a strong odor of mildew. So you're going to be concerned about that, especially in a facility where people are actively working out. They were actually working out, and the owner was very concerned about, possible complaints with the people working out and me painting the entire day in there. And I used it in the garage before, and it had a very soft, pleasant odor. Didn't smell at all. It's actually, I would say it's a low odor paint. And so I was very confident it wasn't going to be an issue at Boise CrossFit, but I didn't know, because I'm going different batches. We're talking completely separate time frames. You're talking like 6 months during one time frame and another time frame. So they're definitely different batches, different color. Opened it up, same pleasant odor, very low odor. We were painting all day long, and they're spraying it, brushing it, rolling it. Never one complaint by any one of the patrons that came into that workout facility. So I guess we can talk about, the price. It is upcycled paint. You're going to pay the same amount of money, for this product that you would the same quality paint. It's a paint. It has a 10-year warranty to it, and so comparable paints. What are they going to cost for a comparable paint? This is an interior exterior paint on Amazon. The cost per gallon is $26.99. So that's extremely affordable, extremely reasonable price. For the 5-gallon bucket, I think I paid $80.99, for the 5-gallon bucket. So it's very affordable. If you want to save money, you're definitely going to be saving money on this. If you're concerned about the environment, that's even something better. There is a big push, big movement, like here in Boise, Idaho, the downtown area. People really like to use environmental friendly products, no VOC products, low odor products. And this is one way to really, sell that and sell the fact that you are a painter that's concerned about the environment and using eco-friendly products. All right, so my final thoughts, on the product, Montage Signature Paint, the 2 times that I used it, the one negative I would have to say, about the product is it definitely needed to be strained. So I talked to them about, they do say they strain the paints, and with very, very fine mesh. And but I know, like with all paints nowadays, and it's not just with their paint product, I think it's the transportation process, paints being transported, in the heat. They're being put out of the trucks, set out to be put into the warehouses and stuff in the sun. I think what's happening is like the paint is drying on top of the 5-gallon bucket lids or the gallon can lids. Then when you're shaking them and stuff, the dried paint's getting mixed in there. And it's kind of like just one of my theories of why the paints seem to be pretty dirty or have chunky stuff in them. I just strained the paint because I wanted to make sure that and just really test the quality of it. Does it need to be strained? It definitely needs to be strained. So like all paints nowadays, running through an airless sprayer, you definitely want to strain them. The rest of the qualities, covered well, hung well, had low odor. It is a scrubbable interior exterior paint, so that's a good quality about it. And I think the performance was really well. It dried really fast. I mean, I was doing multiple coats in the Boise CrossFit facility in one day, so it was drying really fast, putting on heavy coats. And so in all aspects, I think you're brushing and rolling it. I really can't stand paints that when I'm drawing my brush out of the bucket or drawing my roller out of the bucket, it's flicking paint or dripping paint. I think it was very low splatter, very low drip, which I was very happy with that also. So I'm kind of like shocked, that you can take paint, a bunch of different paints, mix them all together, and then create really a better paint. And that's what they've actually done. Is upcycled paint is, by their definition, turning paint, from its original state into a better state. I think Montage Paint has really done a really good job, and it is also affordable paint. Your limitations now are you only have a select amount of colors, and I'm not sure how many colors. We'll let you know. We'll show you some colors on Amazon. You can actually purchase color swatches, so you can get samples to put up, large swatch samples. Those are available, but you can't not tint the paint. So you can't take it down to the store and say, I want it to be a different color. It is what it is. Their color palette does have some pretty dang cool colors, but once again, it is limited. So that's maybe one of the other negatives. So you got limited colors. So once again, if you're concerned about the environment, if you don't want to send paints to landfills, if you want to support the effort of recycling paint, this is the product for you. And we'll let you know in the video description where you can purchase these products, where you can drop these products off, how you can help support this effort, here in the United States and worldwide. If you got any questions or comments, if you've ever used this paint before, we want to know what your thoughts thoughts are about it down in the comment section below. Or if you got any questions for us that I didn't answer in this video, leave that down in the comment section below. We'd really appreciate it. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you want to see more upcoming videos and be notified when we come out with those videos. And like we always say, we'll see you next time. Out.